Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, sir. How you doing tonight?
All right.
This is Dean calling from Tampa, Florida.
Yes, sir.
One thing I would like to say is I agree with you. I think we actually exist on many different levels, in fact, and even as in life and as we pass to death, I think in a sense, I think a lot of us in our sense of awareness, we tend to almost tune into that, and I think we each get glimpses of it, maybe not the full picture.
And maybe that's intended.
I think so, sir. I would like to actually give you just a moment of clarity here. After I'd actually met a young girl named Clarity in 1985, I had a couple after effects, actually. And I think there's a positive side to actual spirits that you might actually encounter, and I think in a sense it might actually be a protection in a sense. And I've seen this in children and things like that, and I've heard stories about that. I had an experience. I was driving to Irving, Texas, in fact, on a major highway coming out of Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And I just bought a new car. I'm driving down. It's about early 1986. As I'm just coming onto the highway, this rather large 1970 Cadillac, one of those old ones about 9 feet long, sir.
Sure.
Yeah, it kind of takes one of those. He decides he wants to take a right and go across 3 different lanes. Suddenly he just cuts right in front of me, and I start doing 360s on the highway. And this is right at rush hour. We're talking 3-way highway, 3-lane highway.
Right.
As I'm doing 360, sir, I'm starting to come up over on 2 wheels, and I start noticing, like, almost literally, as I look back on it, almost an angelic whirlwind of just, and it wasn't like people, but it was almost like a sense of protection, because I can almost remember how quiet it was as I'm doing these 360s, going up on 2 wheels and watching people drive around me, yet not being touched. And the most amazing thing is after I crossed 4 lanes of traffic, I suddenly realized I'm going backwards. I look up, and in my rearview mirror, sir, somebody's sitting in my back seat.
Holy smokes.
Well, number one, I was by myself. As I look back in front, I noticed all traffic has stopped, and I'm slamming on my brakes. I look up back again in the midsection, the actual the barrier between the actual 2 highways.
Right.
I'm coming upon that, and I'm doing about 40 backwards. As I'm looking up in the rearview mirror, well, whoever was sitting in my back seat, well, they're gone now. So I'm appreciative of that because I didn't want to have to deal with that. But secondly, I'm watching the barrier and me coming up doing about 40. I stop within about 3 feet of it. Not a scratch on the car, nothing. I've completely stopped rush hour traffic in the middle of Dallas-Fort Worth. Everybody's literally walking out of their car, looking at me like I've just filmed some stunt movie.
And you were no doubt convinced you had been saved by some sort of angelic presence.
Exactly, sir. And
all right. And to make it...
Yes, sir. To make it very quickly and short, 2 weeks later, I'm coming around a little S-turn in Irving, Texas. Suddenly it's a rainy thing. All of a sudden I start losing the grip of the car. I'm just starting to go over a cliff. Suddenly I stop, sir. I got out of the car. I look around. There's handprints in the front of my car as the rain's dropping like that. You can literally see somebody tried to stop my car. There are people out there protecting us.
Shades of San Antonio, Texas. All right, well, that is interesting. Have you ever wondered when you see an accident that's so horrible, a car is totaled, it's mushed, there's nothing, and somehow somebody came through it completely unscathed? It occurs. These things happen. And a lot of times you get stories like the one that man just told. No matter what chaos was around him at the moment, the instant all of this occurred, and it does occur, of course, basically in an instant, an accident like that. He kind of gave it to us in slow motion. It may well be that, and who knows why, but there may be some protection, and of course everybody would say, well, then why doesn't everybody get protected? I don't know. They just don't. But something that through it all won't let you get touched, no matter the mayhem all around you. You hear about these miracles, seeming miracles, all the time. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hello, Art. How are you this evening?
Okay.
All right. Well, this was about the middle of last July.
Where are you, sir?
This is Dave and Christopher.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay, Dave.
All right. And we were up camping in White Pines up at the northern end of Illinois.
Right.
And we had just finished a late dinner, and we were sitting around a roaring campfire, starting to get cool out. And we decided to do what most people do around a campfire, see if we could drum up a few ghost stories. Okay. So we're sitting around, and everybody's trying to think, and all of a sudden there's a rustling behind us in the dark,
yeah.
In the trees and such. And we look over, and out comes this little black cat.
Yes.
And you know how some cats are very socialized. They come by and they rub up against you. Okay, well, this little thing came and got up in between the people and the fire and started, as she walked by, she'd give you that little tail hug, like, you
Right.
know.
Oh,
And,
yes, yes.
yeah, you know, so she's walking around, and people are just watching her walk and touch and walk and hug. And she gets around to these two girls that are just about the other side of the fire from me. And as she does, she stops for a moment, and the girl who absolutely loves cats reaches over and starts to give her a scritch on the back.
Right.
And the tail goes up, and all of a sudden the girl darts back, screaming, turned completely white, and the girlfriend next to her does the same thing. As it turned out, when she had reached over to scritch the cat, she had actually gone through the cat.
Her hand went through.
Her hand went through the cat.
Through the cat.
After this cat had walked around half the people at the campfire, touching and hugging as she walked by, rubbing their leg, and everybody swears up and down they felt the cat,
Yes.
felt the fur,
Yes.
and everybody starts looking around for the cat, and the cat's gone. All right, and there's nothing but like a wall of thicket and leaves back where the cat must have gone. Somebody picks up one of these Q-beams, goes back in the direction of where we thought the cat had gone, and there's nothing there.
Uh-huh. That's fascinating.
So
Puts her hand right through the cat, huh?
puts her hand almost right through the cat. As she starts to scratch it, it's like it started to.
No, we indeed run back into the night. On the first-time caller line, you are on the air. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. What is your first name and where are you?
My name's Melanie, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Melanie. Okay, very good. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, let me get started here. I had an extraordinary evening the night that you had a guest, Dr. Evelyn Pagrini. Is that how you pronounce it?
It is indeed.
Okay. That night, I live on the East Coast, and I went to bed very late. Your show runs very late here.
Yes, it
And
does.
I went to bed between 4:30 and 5 o'clock that night or that morning, and I was very tired. I immediately went to bed, and my consciousness was alerted. There's a term, there is something you call shadow people on your website. I've never heard that term before, but I've always called them angels. I've had this happen to me before. And what you call shadow people were running across my bed into my bathroom, which was lit up. It wasn't bright.
Why would you presume they're angels if they're dark? Now, the shadow people, as represented on my website, are of varying forms, but they're all dark. Were these things that you saw dark?
Yes, they were, but I don't get into dark. I don't get into the dark part of it.
Gotcha. Okay. So you thought of them as angels,
Yes.
and they'd run across you into the bathroom?
In front of my bed, they were running in front of my bed into my bathroom. I live in a very small apartment, and let me just mention that I do live on my own. I'm a single female. Okay, so I was alerted. My apartment wasn't bright. It was
Maybe they all have little teeny weeny pea-sized bladders.
Pardon me?
Maybe they all have teeny weeny pea-sized bladders.
Well, I don't think that's what they were doing.
But
here.
they were running. They were headed to your bathroom, right?
Yes, they were.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's what they were doing. I just think that they like to come down and be with me because I've had this happen to me before.
Yes.
Okay. So, I was alerted. My consciousness was alerted, but I was still in a sound sleep, and I wanted to wake up. I was frightened because I really thought there was a human being in my apartment. Okay, a being that I live on my own. I could not wake up, and they kept on running, and, they were having a party in my apartment. Huh. And eventually, like I said, I went to bed between 4:30 and 5 that morning. I eventually woke up. It was very hard for me to wake up. They did not want me to wake up. But eventually I woke up. I went and got a kitchen knife out of my kitchen, and I put it on my nightstand. Went back to bed, woke up the following afternoon between 12 and 12:30.
So you mean you would have sliced up one of these little bundles of joy?
Well, I wouldn't have sliced them up. If there was a human being, I would have sliced the human being up.
I see. All right.
Okay?
Yes.
So, it was so real, I actually thought that there could be an intruder in my apartment. That's how real
I've got the feeling, right? Understand.
Okay. So I don't use an alarm clock. I'm very regular. I wake up between 12 and 12:30 every afternoon. I work in the evenings. Mm-hmm. As soon as I wake up, I look at my clock on my nightstand to see how much longer I can sleep before it becomes 12:30.
I do it all the time.
Okay. So I get up, and it's 12:30 the following day. I go to my kitchen to make some coffee, and I notice my clock radio in my kitchen is blinking. Okay, so the power went out.
Right.
I'm waiting for my coffee to brew. I get my coffee. I go back into my room where my computer is, because that's what I do in the morning. Is I have my coffee and I watch and I play on my computer.
Yeah.
And I notice the clock radio next to my computer is blinking. Okay.
Okay.
Now remember, I woke up and the clock on my nightstand was not blinking.
Yeah, you're right. So.
Hold on.
Okay.
So I get on my computer. It is on safe mode.
Safe mode.
Safe mode.
For the you non-computer people, that means that it may have lost power and tried to reboot, and reboots in safe mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. It usually reboots. It's very rare that it goes on safe mode.
I
It'll
understand.
just reboot itself.
Yep, I understand.
Okay. And the day on my computer, the day Dr. Evelyn Paglini was on your show was, I believe, a Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that Friday, the day on my computer was changed to Saturday.
Yeah, really?
And it has, what started it all, Mr. Bell, was the night that you did your experiment with Rush Limbaugh.
Uh-huh.
I haven't focused or meditated on something like that in, I'd say, a good 3 years.
Well, you know what that does, yeah. It opens a door. You've got that right. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the story.